We'd like to talk a little bit, as we do in most of our shows, is a little bit about what's going on in the city, particularly in City Hall. There's a lot on City Hall's plate right now, and one of the biggest controversies going on right now is the movement of the homeless shelter to 851 Washington. Three of us were at a meeting last week at the United Methodist Church, where it was supposed to be an open forum, and quite frankly, it broke down pretty fast in my view.
Yeah, you saw that they had a few people come up and speak, talk about the good things they do for the homeless shelter, which is true, which they do, and nobody's denying that. But then they had the architect come up and say, well, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and then also we're going to make something for the auto shop. And I spoke to them, and then the guy that owns Brian's Automotive said, I'm Brian, and no, you never spoke to me at all. And right there, it set the table for everybody to say, hey, wait, there's a lack of transparency going on here. There's something not right, and it just changed the whole game that night. And and you had Lindsay come up and speak, and they kind of cut her short. And tell me what you guys feel. I mean,
this is the most compelling issue to face City Hall at this time.
Sure.
I think the whole city is involved, and the whole city is looking at what's going to happen. And the funny thing about it is that CHOP wants to move there. I guess the residents in that area have issues with the homeless shelter being there, not the homeless. But the biggest thing that I feel is that nobody has conferred, nobody's even asked how the people in the shelter, the people who are the residents of the shelter, are going to feel being in the public's eye in that location, in an area that the people are not really accepting of them, which means everything that they do will be under scrutiny, which will put a lot of pressure. And nobody has even asked the residents, or got their opinion. They seem to be a non-entity. I mean, it's tough.
I agree. I see the same type of things. But one of the things that I see is going on and continuously on CHOP's side is misinformation. Every time they bring up information someone finds that it's false.
Yeah.
It's not accurate, and that's where people are getting they're getting frustrated. Because you're coming up, you're trying to sell us on this, but the information you're bringing is not true. You're trying to get us to be on your side about it.
Sure.
We don't have that many police calls. We only have 1%. Well, 1%
over 100% of the whole city
is a heck of a lot. So where are you getting at? That didn't convince me. That made me say even more. So
yeah, it made it.
Wow, we've got to be a little bit more careful.
The way they blew it off, they said, well, those calls, most of, one of the things, and you're a former policeman, when policemen fill out police reports, they have to report
accuracy. Sure.
And when they fill out a police report that something happened at 200 North Water Street, that means it happened at 200 North Water Street. And, so they say, there's other stuff going on. 127 reports in 1 year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of calls for service. And if you look at the majority of those calls, it occurred after midnight, which requires at least 2 cars to go there, not one, which means that the services of the city are being drained
to go there, sure,
on a continuous basis. Now, I'm not saying that it's not needed. It is absolutely needed as a retired police officer. But you have a lot of calls there.
And they have EDPs, which is emotionally disturbed person. And, the problem you have is it all starts from the beginning. If you want to move a homeless shelter, you have to go to the neighborhood you want to put it in and say, before you buy a building, out of respect for the neighborhood, and say, listen, we're thinking about moving this homeless shelter. How's everybody going to feel about it? And they didn't do that. So that was the first step they made, which is a major mistake. And I think every other thing they did besides that, not answer questions and everything else, makes this whole thing look really shady. And that's what everybody's upset about, and understandably so, that this is a big problem. When I was on the council, we didn't even want to open a laundromat down there because it was going to stay open 24 hours, and they didn't want all kinds of characters hanging down there at night. Right? Now, the problem with this is that they don't tell you that these people show up, and the people that they don't want there, they kick out. So what do they start doing? Roaming that neighborhood? You know what I mean? And you know what happens. I mean, it's either something they break into a car or something like that. And I'm not trying to say this is what they do, but there's a lot of good people that are homeless, and there's some people that have emotional problems, and some people, and this is just reality. You know what I mean? And it has to be discussed as a reality.
Again, with the transparency thing, a lot of what's said by the CHOP folks is, well, there's auto shops down there, and this is a mixed-use neighborhood. Yeah. They gloss over the fact, there's a zoning scheme in the city. That was developed for a reason. And the zoning for that specific area does not permit a homeless shelter. It just doesn't.
Correct.
They have to amend the zoning code to suit those people. It's not special use. It's not an allowed use there. And the people who bought their homes and live in that neighborhood have a right to expect that the zoning and the character of that neighborhood is going to stay the same. Because if it can happen in that neighborhood,
It can happen anywhere.
in your neighborhood,
Sure,
in our
without
neighborhood.
respect for the neighbors or the people around.
I also think there's a leadership quality that's missing. Where's our mayor in all this?
I'll tell you where he was. He was at the meeting. He signed their petition, as did Vanessa Aganello.
Yeah.
So how? So
One-
these
one-
people in that neighborhood, they think
one-
that that gets
one-sided.
stacked. Oh.
He's not speaking to both sides. If there's a light change that's being done at the youth center, he's there taking a photo op. But these are grown-up issues that have to be addressed, and he's nowhere around. He's missing in action.
Well, the problem you have is you as a council. I mean, I could tell you, if I was on the council, which I was, if there was a major problem like this came up, and you really believe that you're here for the people, you have to announce, listen, just like Patty Riley did, that I'm here for you, and I respect your thoughts, and I will do I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen. Because, it's 800 people on that list, and probably more, if they start digging into, they go into that neighborhood. And they have to respect the people in that neighborhood. They have to respect them as a voter. I mean, the home values will definitely drop, will go down. And that will affect anybody. Who wants to buy a house and say, well, guess what? After I bought a house a year ago, now they're going to put a homeless shelter, and my house values are going to go down. I can't sell it or get rid of it because nobody's going to want to buy it right next to a homeless shelter. So that's a major key.
One of the elements of research, somebody did it, it was on social media. The CHOP board, there's 19 people on the CHOP board, only 6 live in Peekskill. And the closest one that lives to that shelter is 0.7 miles away from the shelter.
Right.
So the rest of them. So when they talk about NIMBY, it really is not NIMBY for a good portion of that board.
Something that Lewis said and something that Joe said was that we had one mayor and one council person put their names on a petition to move the homeless shelter there without the facts or knowledge of the facts.
Exactly.
Now, that's an immediate affirmation that they've made a decision. And we're looking at a council that's supposed to be balanced to all
That's
the
right,
people
balanced
in the
to all
city
people.
and make decisions based on fact that comes before them.
Correct.
In this case, the facts have already been determined by 2 members of that board.
It would certainly seem so.
And the problem you're going to have here, and you as a lawyer, Bob, you be able to tell me. I mean, it's been said. They have a lot of those people that are on that board and part of the people that are with them are on the transition team for the mayor. Okay? So now, if a lawyer files a lawsuit, this is going to be a wide open can of worms that they will probably get really beat up. You have subpoenas, you have Cynthia Knox, which is the head of the board that's running that, and she's part of the transition team. You have so many members part of this transition team, and they all were there together that night at that meeting for them. Right. And now, they're all out in the open. Okay, now the problem you're going to have, you get an attorney that says, I want to subpoena him, I want to subpoena him, I want to subpoena him, and it's going to look crookeder than ever. And this is going to be a big problem for them, I think, if they really go through with this. And they're going to get an attorney, I believe, right? Because they spoke that night. They said they were looking into getting an attorney.
I would certainly recommend it.
But let's ask one question, which really should have been answered. It says, do you have any other options? She asked Cynthia Nix directly, do you have any other options? She didn't answer it.
She went in. She
refused. There isn't any other options. This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
So, the community, the residents, have to really put their strength behind, each other, get the attorney involved, and really go after, because going to these meetings here is a waste of time. Yeah. They have to go to the planning board, the council, and the mayor. City manager saying, we're not standing for this. It's not going to happen.
And what you do have to watch is what I used to call the 840 Main Street Shuffle. You gotta keep your eye on the ball.
Yeah.
Make sure you're at every hearing. Make sure you.
They have to.
Just on what Lewis was saying, I would really like to see what other locations CHOP has looked into and find out from them, or at least they could have publicized what their issues were with putting the homeless shelter there.
Yeah, sure.
There are so many locations that people have recommended, including the Centennial Firehouse by Beach Shopping Center, which could handle what their need is, and they just kind of.
But let me tell you something.
Nixed it.
And I know what you're saying, and I think even the people at Centennial will come out and go crazy, just in that area. But I think the biggest problem they have is they lost the people's trust with all the lies and the non-answers and all that stuff. And right there, I don't think it'll ever recover, because I think every time they try to reach out and say, hey, let's make this work, they came and they kind of distorted the truth.
Also said that he would add an additional 11,000 square feet.
Yeah.
to the project to help them with their needs,
Yeah.
and they still said no.
Yeah, there's another motivation here. We're gonna,
Yeah.
you know, like they said in All the President's Men, follow the money. There's something
Yeah, well,
going
follow
on.
the money.
Follow the money.
I mean, they get $3,600 a person, I think, per month. And think about it, they made almost $1 million last year. So think of the kind of money they can make if they had 50 beds instead.
Funny thing,
10 or
they have a
12
lot
or
of
whatever.
political backing.
Well, sure, you got the
I know
county.
the Democratic candidate
Sure.
for the state senate put up $25,000 to the CHOP organization in order to be able to move to this location, or at least help them move to
Sure.
this location.
So that's why sometimes you got to wonder if they made a deal with the county. You know, the county said, listen, we don't want anything, you know, everything down county going up. And that's the reality, that they send a lot of people from down county up here. It's not just Peekskill anymore. And, you know, for them to say, well, you know, we only let certain people in that are not sex offenders or whatever, and we run their license. How many of them have licenses? They can't even do a text line.
CHOP is a drop-in shelter, and as a retired police officer, if I found somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's 3 degrees outside, and I needed a location to give them a bed, we would bring them to the drop-in shelter. We didn't find out what their crime was or what their background
Exactly.
was.
And you're a police officer, and you're saying that.
And we bring them
exactly.
there.
Thank you.
So I think this whole CHOP thing is a saga to be continued. It's going to be ongoing. It's a
Wow.
long process.
It's early, but,
so I think what we need to do is continue to follow it. And
Yeah, go
comment on
we'll be at
our
every
shows.
meeting, and we'll make sure that
And-
we'll keep you informed.
And Bob, just like us, they're united, they're Democrats, they're Republicans,
That's true.
and they have the issue, and they're going forward.
Yes.
A couple other things going on in City Hall. The city manager's budget was just presented on October 1. There's already a lot of discussion about that. I know the fire department had some issues with it. I think right at this point in time, we're looking at the surplus going down. I think this year is supposed to be a $900,000 surplus. Next year it's expected to be $31,000 surplus.
Correct, yeah.
So that means they're going to be balancing the books with Fosternomics by taking money out of the fund balance to avoid tax increases.
To avoid
and
tax
balance the
increase.
budget.
But there is going to be a tax increase coming with this.
Well, it's going to
Yeah,
be
that's
at the cap, I believe,
Yeah, it's
right?
at the cap, 1.7.
Well, it's not
1.7.
enough though to recover that money, because in order to recover that kind of money, you got to be almost a 7.75% tax increase to refund that kind of money that you're losing. So now what's going to happen is, you know, it's like a tumble effect. And I can tell you, when I was on the council with Frank and Boo, we worked hard to make sure that we lifted every stone and we got every penny everywhere we could to get money back into fund balance. And the reason is you know, you're supposed to have 10% of your fund balance has to be in reserves there. So what happens is, so if you have a $37 million budget, you have to have $3.7 million in your reserve funds, just in case you have a road explode or, you know, something happens catastrophic in your city. You need that money there. And Moody's looks at you and says, okay, you look stable. Now, when you get to $31,000 in your fund balance, or even $100,000 in your fund balance, that's not even close enough to cover anything really that major that would cover the city. So now I guarantee Moody's will say, well, we're gonna downgrade you. It's gonna cost you more to borrow money. And then what they start doing, and when we first got on the council, because when Foster was there and everything was ran to the ground, we were this close to getting taken over by the state, this close. And you know, basically, you know, when you get that close, you know, you have to figure out a way to come out of it. And we did everything we can. I don't think there's a second chance to come out of it, even though you have other things coming in. It's going to be hard to recover a lot of that money, and you're going to see TANs. And we were borrowing money to make payroll last time, and you're going to see that again.
TANs.
Yeah.
But so in your opinion, as a former councilman, is there fiscal responsibility on it?
No, because they're spending money. You know, they're hiring employees they don't really need. You know, they did the youth bureau thing, and the youth bureau is great. Everybody likes the kids. You want to do the right things for the kids, but you have to take care of your house first before you can take care of everybody outside. And you know, to keep your taxes down low and make everybody stay in this city, you have to take care of your tax base. So you have to adjust to what you can afford to spend. And right now they're going, let's do a study on the lights. Let's do a study on this. Let's hire 2 more employees that we don't really need right now. It's not critical. You know, so you have to go back to either go to critical spending and hold your ground, and hopefully other things come in and make your fund balance go higher. But they're not doing that. They're spending money. And again, and I said this, and it's nothing against renters, but this is people that play with other people's money. And when you do that, you get in trouble. Because you know what? You don't really feel it. If you rent here, you don't have any skin in the game, because you know what? Your taxes go up. I could turn around and move out a year later because my lease is up, and I can move to another town where I could afford it. That's the problem. And nobody realizes
Joe,
that.
there's a lot of residents here that are tenants that are going to stay and will stay, and they're going to get affected because their rents are going to go up.
Eventually the rents go up.
And that's where the tenants, who live here, they're going to get affected, and they got to start paying attention to what's going on, because it is going to affect them.
Eventually, it affects everybody. It affects everybody.
Homeowners first, property owners second, then it's going to trickle down to the residents, and they're going to have to pay.
All of our discussion right now about the budget is a little bit premature because the city council hasn't put in its budget. It has till November 1st.
They haven't put in budget.
So they start building the elephant, putting on extra ears and stuff with their pet projects. That's going to knock the whole thing.
Maybe they'll have a show and think about it.
Maybe they'll come back.
Yes.
Real quick, TANs. What is TANs?
TANs is tax anticipation notes. That means what you're doing is you're like, if you do a TANs on your payroll, you're betting your future taxes on that payroll. So in other words, you're behind the eight ball. You're already paying for something you don't have anymore.
You're
giving away your future.
Yeah.
You're giving away your future. So that means in the future you can't get anything else because you spent it already. So that means the city is going to head down a bad road. And I hate to say it, but even when I was on the council with the Democrats, they were not ever great at doing financials. And you can look back to history. They ran the city into the ground, and I hope they don't do it again. And I really, truly hope.
And it's
for the city's sake.
It's this Democratic, and I'll say this: the Democratic Party itself, not the Democrats.
The ones that are running the city.
It's the ones that are running it, and that's why I ran with this team, because fiscal responsibility was their #1 agenda, which is, as you can see, what happens when it's not.
That's right. Yeah.
Other stuff going on, Peekskill. We'll just touch on it before we wrap up this segment. And I know you guys are going to kick me. Lower South Street.
No.
What about it? Is there a Lower South Street?
Is
anything happening?
And the time is ticking.
It's ticking.
Is ticking.
Yes, it is.
At getting those tax credits. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, use of the firehouses. Those firehouses are going to be shuttered in 2-3 weeks. What are we going to do with them? We just are pumping $50,000. We used a grant from Senator Murphy. Thank you very much, Senator Murphy. And that's well spent money, but is it well spent there where it's going? The Youth Bureau building is old, and you're in the construction. $50,000 in a building like that is a couple of lights, and not
it's
much.
gone before you know it.
So, and that's prime real estate. If I were running the city, that's right in that gateway right now where that's prime real estate, and that's something. If we don't really need it for any other municipal purpose, maybe we put it on blocks. So who knows? So, what do you think? Let us know on Facebook or on YouTube.
I'd like to thank the police department, the fire department, and the ambulance corps for their dedicated service, and wish them a lot of luck in the holiday season and to stay safe.
I'd like to congratulate the Rotary Club of Peekskill. They had a successful horse show this year. It was fantastic, well attended. The weather was great. Children and their parents had a great time. And look out for our Cherry Blossom Festival coming soon.
I'd like to thank the fire department, police department, ambulance corps. Did a great job knocking down a fire on Washington Street. And I'd like to say this, that the family does need help with donations. Frank Catalina has a donation thing going on. It's I believe it's a fire victim fund. But it's kind of sad that you saw this council, not one member come down and offer to help in any way. And I know when I was on the council with the mayor, he went out of his way, showed up at every fire, and we did everything we could to help these people when they were in need for our help. And hopefully they learn from this, that they'll move on and start doing the right thing. Thank you.
And I just wanted to mention something that I had mentioned on social media. Last week during the Kavanaugh hearings, we had a member of our city council was arrested disrupting the Senate Judiciary hearings and was proud of it. The Constitution permits everyone to speak their mind and to assemble, but at a proper time and a proper place. We wouldn't do that here in Peekskill. We certainly wouldn't do it at a common council meeting. So I think as an elected official, I think it is just tremendously inappropriate for somebody to go down and disrupt hearings and something that our Constitution calls for. If you don't like the results, then vote people out. Or if you want to protest, get a permit, work with the Capitol Police. You can raise your sign, raise your voice, whatever you want to do. But disrupting the proceedings, getting arrested is not the way, not appropriate for, I believe, a elected official. Thank you for watching our show tonight. Stay tuned. Our next show will be coming up in a few weeks. And just if you have any comments, let us know on Facebook or YouTube. Good night.